This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. The lone survivor of a mass shooting in Winnipeg's West Broadway area has now died. Sean Marco was among 5 people shot a year and a half ago at a Langside Street rooming house. CBC's Josh Crabb spoke with his family, who are now demanding justice.
Right here, my 40th birthday party.
Looking through this photo collage helps ease the nightmare Melissa Marco and her family have been living. Her brother, Sean Marco, was critically wounded in a mass shooting in 2023 that claimed the lives of 4 other people. The 56-year-old died earlier this month after spending the past year and a half in hospital.
My only brother, his only son, how do you get over such a horrific death like that?
Melissa says Sean died after getting pneumonia for a 3rd time. He had been at Health Sciences Centre ever since the shooting, on life support at times.
He was shot 3 times. The bullets did major damage to his insides.
Sean needed 11 surgeries to remove all or parts of several internal organs. He could talk but couldn't walk. Jamie Randy Felix, now 34, has been charged with 4 counts of second-degree murder in the deaths of Malala Klesekel, Dylan Lavallee, and sisters Crystal and Stephanie Beardy. He was charged with the attempted murder of Sean Marco, but Melissa thinks that charge should now be upgraded.
Because my brother's still dead. My brother was still in the hospital because of what happened to him, right? So to me, it should be the same counts.
It's too soon to know if the attempted murder charge will be upgraded. The Manitoba Prosecution Service told CBC any decisions in relation to what happened to Sean Marco will only be made after all relevant evidence is obtained and reviewed.
Can't sleep very good at night to see his face all the time.
Ernie Marco says his son lived with addiction, became homeless, and ran into legal problems. Sean's dad and sister remember him for his love of crossword puzzles, fishing, and watching sports.
He didn't have much, but he would always try and help you if he could.
Like a message for him that he's...
This spruce tree Sean planted in his family's yard as a child now stands as a reminder of his life. Melissa says her brother was out celebrating his 55th birthday when he was shot.
We want justice. And we deserve justice, and so do all those other families.
Jamie Felix's lawyer says he's aware of Sean Marco's death and was given notice prosecutors may change the charge. Marco's family wants to be involved in the legal proceedings every step of the way. Josh Crabb, CBC News, Winnipeg.
We're learning tonight dozens of structures around the province have already been lost to wildfires this season. The province confirms about 130 buildings have burned, but won't say exactly what or where. CBC News has learned nearly 30 of those are properties in Burge Lake Provincial Park. Some cabins, others permanent homes, all near the town of Lynn Lake. Gavin Axelrod talked to people coming to grips with what they say is an area that will never be the same.
This is all that's left of Crystal Antilla's cabin after wildfire ripped through Burge Lake Provincial Park. She bought it about a year ago. She got the call to help and worked with a team of volunteer firefighters from the RM of Springfield.
So I was fortunate in a way to be a part of those efforts. It was really meaningful to me, but at the same time, it was a difficult experience to see not only my own cabin gone, but the other properties that were affected too.
Burge Lake is just a short drive from the northern Manitoba town of Lynn Lake. Antilla grew up in the town and spent lots of time at Burge Lake. Wildfire still threatens the area, and it is considered out of control.
I'm going to miss all of the trees, all of the surroundings, that it doesn't look the same, and it won't for a really long time.
This address marker is one of the only pieces left of Lynn Lake Fire Chief Paul Grimmer's property.
And it was just a really, amazing community to be a part of. I had a cabin out there, and it was just a beautiful park, and now it looks like a bomb went off in the middle of it.
I spoke to Lynn Lake's Mayor Brandon Delowich. He says there were around 35 cabins at Burge Lake. Some of them were people's year-round homes. He says 29 properties burned, including his own.
The destruction at that subdivision is it's something that's extremely hard to see, and it's I my heart goes out to everybody that lost a home or a cottage out there.
A mandatory evacuation order is still in place for Lynn Lake and the area. Despite all the devastation, Antilla says the community is determined to rebuild.
Whether it's planting trees or doing other things that we can to try to get the area and the community looking as beautiful as it was before.
She knows that's going to take time. Gavin Axelrod, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Meantime, people in Bassett are able to head home after the mandatory evacuation order was lifted there yesterday morning. An estimated 80 evacuees have started to return. And then this morning, the southern part of Nopaming Provincial Park has reopened to permanent residents, cottagers and commercial operators. It comes 5 weeks after Nopaming was closed because of fires. Now, Bird, Booster, Flanders and Davidson Lakes are accessible through Road 315. The rest of the park, however, remains under mandatory evacuation order and closure. Now, the province today has lifted some restrictions and bans in a number of areas. For a full list, head to our website, cbcnews.ca/Manitoba. Excitement at the thought of going home has turned to disappointment for evacuees from Titasqueat Cree Nation as their return is now delayed. Just hours after the community lifted the order, a new state of emergency was declared. The chief says experts will do an assessment of the water treatment plant there tomorrow. In the meantime, the water is not safe for drinking, dishwashing or bathing. A planned power outage is also scheduled over the next 5 days. Well, the longer wait will be difficult for community members. The chief is urging them not to come home until the water issues are resolved. Another city pool has closed for renovations, creating a crunch for some swimmers. The St. James Civic Centre pool closed Sunday, leaving some users looking elsewhere for time in the water. And as CBC's Josh Crabb reports, that space is getting harder to come by.
14-year-old William Anderson goes to the city-owned St. James Centennial Pool once a week.
It's pretty important. It's where I work out. It's where I go with my friends all the time. It's a pretty nice place.
For some swimmers, time in the water in Winnipeg may be harder to come by. A significant leak here at the University of Manitoba's Joyce Fromson Pool was discovered April 8th, prompting an emergency closure of the facility.
Following the closure, we did an engineering assessment, and that assessment revealed that the pool was at its end of life. It is a 60-year-old pool, and that we needed to replace it.
The St. James Civic Centre pool is also closed for renovations.
It's a big impact. It spreads us across the city to, last time it was a number of different pools.
Josh Colden is the coach of the St. James Seal Swim Club. They typically train at the Civic Centre pool, which will be closed until 2026. Colden says that closure, along with others, means it's more difficult to find different places to train. Cindy Clausen Pool is temporarily closed for repairs, and Bonnie Vittel Pool is getting upgrades and won't reopen until this fall.
It's definitely going to create a logjam. It's going to create a lot of teams needing to either start to work together or someone will have to step in to kind of mediate so everyone gets somewhere to go.
Raman Dhaliwal with the U of M says the school has already started looking at options to replace its pool and hopes to have it open by spring of 2026.
It's used quite regularly for our mini-U programming, as well as community swimming lessons, and of course our Bison swim team as well.
The closure has prompted the Bisons to look elsewhere to train. Children's mini-U and swimming lessons have been canceled for now. The city, meantime, says it tries to coordinate repairs and upgrades to minimize scheduling problems at its recreation facilities. Anderson hopes the crunch won't affect his swims at the Centennial Pool.
Especially that the summer's approaching.
The city says registration for summer swimming lessons started Tuesday, and there are still spaces available in many classes. Josh Crabb, CBC News, Winnipeg.
And as promised, Riley is back with us after a couple much-deserved days off. Riley, you are always a busy, busy man when you are here, and from the colors behind you, today's no different.
Yeah, exactly. Warm conditions, hot conditions, fueling some, at sometimes severe thunderstorms rolling through parts of western Manitoba throughout the day. So we do have some warnings in place. These have been slowly dropping as we've gotten throughout the past hour or so. Even in the last few minutes, this particular storm that prompted a warning around Glenborough and Treeherne has now been downgraded as that weakens as it makes its way to the southeast. Tracking another system that's been bringing even some hail and some very heavy rain and some lightning to around Neepawa and some significant rain up into the parkland around Dauphin throughout the afternoon. In terms of hail, some of these brighter colors that you see here is the forecast modeling picking up the potential for some of that hail. So when you see some of these orange, green, and yellow colors, that's hail up to the size of around toonies that we've seen throughout the afternoon in parts of western Manitoba. We are setting up for another day similar to this as we get into the day on Thursday. I'll have more on that and your weekend forecast as well with the start of summer when I come back.
All right. Thanks, Riley.
You're welcome.
Nearly a week into the conflict between Israel and Iran, how and when it will end remains unclear. It's something many in Canada are watching closely. The CBC's Alana Cole reports.
In Bat Yam, destruction after a missile strike. Something Belle Jarneski has heard about firsthand. Her friend lives in the city. She says his apartment a 10-minute walk from an area hit.
What he's seeing and how shocking it is. It really hits home when when it's someone that you know very well and when you've been there and seen the place. It's very frightening because I don't know what Iran is capable of doing in the near future.
Israel made a move last Friday, saying airstrikes were targeting Iran's nuclear program. Iran has retaliated, firing missiles and drones at Israel. Harlan Abels is part of a group that was supposed to be leaving on a trip to Israel on Friday. This is the second time it has been canceled, the first time following the October 7th attack. Now, like Jarneski, he's also been checking on friends to see if they're okay.
He literally said to me, define okay. He's like, my bedroom's a bomb shelter, so I don't have to run in the middle of the night, but he doesn't stay in his bedroom 24/7.
It remains unclear what will come next. Aryan Aryanpour is a former president of the Iranian community of Manitoba. He says no one wants to see their nation's infrastructure turned into rubble. And for him, the worst-case scenario is a prolonged war.
That is not good for the people of Iran, nor for the people of Israel, nor for the region, nor for the whole world. The best option at this point is to ensure that the international community, through efforts that involve the Iranian people, dismantle the regime's apparatus and move forward, work on a transition process and start a new era for Iran.
Jarneski sees an opportunity for change in Iran, too.
I think we've seen a lot of activism, particularly from women in Iran, but others as well in the last couple of years, very bravely opposing the regime.
For now, one factor many are watching, what U.S. President Donald Trump will do next. Alana Cole, CBC News, Winnipeg.
The Manitoba government says it's going to support reconstruction efforts south of war-torn Ukraine. Premier Wabkanu made the announcement in Calgary following the G7 Leaders Summit in nearby Kananaskis, Alberta. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky had been scheduled to meet with Kanu, but left early. The agreement signed aims to support Kherson region, which is partly preoccupied by Russian forces. It calls for collaboration in areas including agriculture, economic development, education, and healthcare. Today marks 10 years since the province issued an apology to the Sixties Scoop survivors. At St. John's Park, survivors, advocates, and community members got together to heal and call attention to outstanding injustices. CBC's Zubina Ahmed reports.
Creating a space for healing and reflection by holding hands. Many survivors got together to mark the 10-year anniversary of the Sixties Scoop apology.
I want a family picture. I don't know what that is.
Sisters Cindy Monroe and Lorraine Sinclair are among those survivors looking for the loved ones. They said the sister was taken from the family years ago. And today she's in a locked-up facility in a mental institution in Minnesota.
She's been there for the good last 4 years. and that in the last year we have no response from her. And we're asking for somebody to help us, to help her to get home.
Sinclair says the system needs to step up and give survivors what they need to live a normal life.
I need mental health counseling. I need repatriation with my family. I want to love my family. I want to get to know my family. I don't know who they are. That's not fair.
Colleen Rejot, a 60s Scoop advocate, says the survivors feel ignored and there's a lot of work to be done to help them.
I strongly feel that, we need something like a 1-800 number where people could call and get the supports that they need to repatriate back to Canada.
About 30,000 Indigenous children were scooped from their homes and placed in non-Indigenous homes between 1951 to 1991. In 2018, the federal government gave a settlement of $25,000 per survivor. Rejot calls the settlement grossly inadequate.
Residential school survivors and day schoolers received much more money in a settlement, and not that money is going to fix everything. But we really feel that 60 Scoop survivors have often been forgotten about.
Meanwhile, Cindy and Lorraine have just one hope.
I want us to go see our mother's grave.
Sabina Ahmed, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Riley is back in. And Riley, there's an ongoing joke in my family that if you want the weather to change and become nicer, have me leave and go somewhere else. And that's kind of what's happening this weekend here in Winnipeg. I am heading out of town, so of course, it's going to be nice.
It's going to be a great weekend, a very hot weekend, a start to summer that feels more like summer. Summer officially starting late Friday evening. The first full day of summer. Just wait till you see some of the temperatures that we're looking at into the weekend. So at least the first half of the weekend. I'll start with the 10-day temperature trend. This gives you a bit of an idea of where we're going. So officially hitting about 27 degrees in Winnipeg this afternoon. Thursday, very similar. And then you see that push of warm air toward the weekend, 29s for both Friday and Saturday. Then you see this dip here. This signifies a cold front that will push through, giving us the potential for some showers, maybe some thunderstorms as we head into Sunday. And then you'll see the numbers rebounding as we head toward the end of the month. So we're looking at temperatures, for the most part, remaining above seasonal, except for a few days here, Sunday through Tuesday. And then we're into that summertime heat once again as we get toward the Canada Day weekend. So looking at the immediate future here, we do still see on Futurecast the potential for some of these thunderstorms to roll through as we get through the evening hours. It does clear out through the overnight period. Even into the morning, maybe a couple of passing showers across southern Manitoba. Otherwise, we're back into a mix of sun and clouds as we head through the day on Thursday. But we'll do this again as we get into the afternoon, and you'll see what I mean here with the potential as we head toward the supper hour. Again, this particular forecast model indicating the potential for some thunderstorms, maybe even reaching that severe threshold again as we get through the afternoon. Into the evening, again, this pushes south of the city of Winnipeg. I do have a risk of thunderstorms in the forecast for Winnipeg into the afternoon tomorrow again. But other than that, most of that pushes south of the international border. And then I'm keeping my eye on this, which could bring us a good shot of moisture as we get Sunday into Monday across southern Manitoba. So we'll keep an eye on that as we get through the coming days. In terms of that risk as we get through the afternoon tomorrow, the bullseye once again through southwestern and western parts of the province where we could see wind gusts up to 110 kilometers an hour. Hail the size of ping pong balls or larger, and tomorrow that risk of a tornado, particularly into that southwestern corner of the province. So you'll really want to keep an eye on the sky as you head through the afternoon into the early evening tomorrow. And as that pushes further east, it does start to diminish again. So this, again, tomorrow mainly centered on the western side of the province. Into the morning hours tomorrow, looking at temperatures already at 14, 15 degrees first thing in the morning for much of the Red River Valley, 13 into Brandon, 10s for Thompson and Gillam, 11 in Churchill first thing in the morning. So there's that risk of a thunderstorm into the afternoon, 26 degrees. There's that push of warmth, Brittany, to start summer into the weekend before we see another chance of showers as we get into Sunday and into early Monday.
All right. Thank you, Riley.
You're welcome.
It's been 6 weeks since 2 young children vanished in rural Nova Scotia. There's still no trace of the kids or any answers about what happened to them. Now, for the first time, their paternal grandmother is speaking out about the mystery that's baffling the country. Kayla Hounsell reports.
Their smiles are just beautiful.
Belinda Gray wants everyone to know how much her grandchildren are loved. 6-year-old Lily Mae Sullivan.
She was our little princess.
And her 4-year-old brother, Jack William James Sullivan.
Jack is a very sober little boy, very intent.
Missing from their rural Nova Scotia home since Friday, May 2nd.
Are you able to authorize and start getting some search teams going?
Radio chatter illustrates search crews and first responders mobilizing.
A lot of area to cover. We're out in the sticks here.
For an exhaustive search that would run a total of 12,000 hours.
The vast majority of it was probably from Fiona.
Downed trees from post-tropical storm Fiona 3 years ago, making the effort even more complicated.
Do you think those kids are in the woods? From everything I've seen, yes. Why can't you find them? They're small, they'd be hiding. They would have crawled underneath something probably when they got tired. They could have gone further than what we searched.
You know, it's quite rare that in my career I've never seen 2 missing children go at the same time.
Police say they found a boot print believed to be child size, but have otherwise been tight-lipped.
So I can tell you that the investigation is ongoing and that we haven't found any evidence to show that there was an abduction of the children.
So you don't think they were abducted, but you can't find them. How do 2 young children just vanish?
That's a great question, Kayla, and we are asking for the public for tips and information.
He says more than 50 people have been interviewed, among them Gray and her son, the children's biological father.
A couple of days ago, they had contact and they told him that they weren't looking his way anymore, that everything was fine.
As she clings to cherished keepsakes,
this is Lily's handprint.
She is pleading for information.
I know somebody out there knows where they're at.
She says she doesn't have much hope the children will be found alive, and even worries the mystery of what happened to them may never be solved. Kayla Hounsell, CBC News, Lansdowne Station, Nova Scotia.
We have an update on the case of the Canadian Olympian turned fugitive. CBC News has learned Ryan Wedding may have been linked to a massive cocaine bust in the Toronto area. Thomas Dagg has more on that possible connection to the FBI's most wanted Canadian.
When you see what's here before you today, it's impressive.
Showing off what they describe as nearly $50 million worth of cocaine, Peel Regional Police announced their biggest drug seizure ever. Now a CBC News investigation finds that massive bust,
Ryan Wedding to the line,
may be linked to former Olympic snowboarder turned alleged crime boss Ryan Wedding, one of the FBI's 10 most wanted fugitives. He's accused of running a murderous drug trafficking network.
The likelihood of what's happening here in Peel being traced back to an organization like that is very high.
What's the likelihood that network's still active in your region?
Very likely.
Whoa. Last fall came a flurry of arrests from this Florida mansion to Colombia and Canada, all in hopes of dismantling Wedding's alleged criminal network. But in court documents we obtained, U.S. prosecutors say Wedding continues to traffic drugs while in hiding.
There certainly are elements of his network that remain in place, but I couldn't say much more than that at this time because of multiple ongoing investigations.
Peel police arrested these men in connection with that record cocaine haul moved across the U.S. border, mirroring the smuggling routes linked to Wedding. His accomplices stand accused of concealing cocaine bricks in secret truck compartments.
Cocaine is not manufactured in Canada. It can only come from outside of Canada, predominantly through the Mexican cartel and coming across the border.
Wedding is believed to be living in Mexico under cartel protection. The U.S. State Department is offering $10 million for information leading to his arrest.
Tips are always coming in.
And sending this message.
Ryan, we're getting tips every day. People are calling in. So you're next, buddy.
Thomas Dagg, CBC News, Toronto.
For a 6th day now, Israel and Iran continued their air and missile attacks on each other. Iran's supreme leader is rejecting U.S. calls for surrender, as Donald Trump says he's weighing his next move. Chris Brown has more from Jerusalem.
Even though Israel has continued to attack,
Iran's nuclear facilities and its other parts of the government. It does feel like the tempo has slowed somewhat of this war as we may be entering what could be a new phase. On the one hand, Israel's military strikes are doing damage, including to a facility that made centrifuges, but the really key part of its nuclear program remains out of reach. That requires U.S. bunker-busting bombs in order to get at. On the other hand, for Iran, it initially fired more than 100 ballistic missiles at Israel for the first few nights of this war, but the tempo has definitely slowed, as have the reports of damage. Iran could be running out of these missiles, could be unable to launch them, or maybe deliberately holding back in case it needs them if the U.S. starts attacking as well. The country's supreme ruler said he would not surrender, answering to Donald Trump, essentially throwing the next big decision in where this conflict goes back to the U.S. president. I may do it, I may not do it. No one knows, said Trump, seemingly even himself unsure whether he's going to order the U.S. to attack. The risk is obviously immense. If the U.S. does attack and fails to destroy these underground facilities, Iran could respond asymmetrically, for example, by blocking shipping in the Gulf of Hormuz, and that would cause immense disruption to the global economy. On the broader question of what are the objectives of this war now, is it still about destroying the nuclear program, or perhaps has it moved on to replacing the entire regime in Iran? Israel's Benjamin Netanyahu has often spoken about this, talking in English to Iranians, trying to emphasize the historical connections between Jewish and Persian people. And with every tactical success on the ground, it's felt more and more that this has become the Israeli objective. Why stop at eliminating just the nuclear program when we can get rid of the whole regime as well? On the other hand, we're really not hearing a whole lot or seeing a whole lot of indications from Iranians that they want to trade in their own despotic bunch of rulers for another group of leaders, possibly even picked by another country. They may not like this regime, a lot of them, but they also don't like seeing Israel bomb their country and kill their people. Chris Brown, CBC News in Jerusalem.
Palestinians and their supporters say the fighting between Israel and Iran is pulling international attention away from the increasingly dire situation in Gaza. Local officials say at least 140 people have been killed since Tuesday. Some of them Palestinians seeking food and aid overnight. Gaza health officials say Israeli gunfire killed at least 10 people early Wednesday at an Israel-U.S. aid distribution site guarded by Israeli defense forces. A huge crowd of Palestinians had arrived there after monitoring social media posts for when the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation location would open. Gaza health officials say many other Palestinians were killed in Israeli airstrikes elsewhere in the Strip. A volcanic eruption in eastern Indonesia has forced several villages to evacuate and is impacting travel throughout the area. Several blasts sent ash as high as 5,000 meters in the air. The massive plume was visible 150 kilometers away. Indonesian authorities raised their alert to the most dangerous on Tuesday, recommending people leave the surrounding area. Thousands have also been affected by flight delays and cancellations, including those going to and from the resort island of Bali. No injuries or deaths have been reported. Mount Luatobi Laki-Laki is one of the most active volcanoes in the world. An eruption last November killed 9 people and injured dozens. Colorectal cancer is one of the most preventable and treatable cancers when caught in the early stages. Yet in Canada, it remains the second deadliest due to delays in detection. Christine Burak looks at new calls to lower the screening age.
It was within a month.
Their stories are unnerving.
There was dark blood in the stool.
Young, seemingly healthy, and yet close to death.
We knew that there was a colon cancer happening. But when he said stage 4, my mind went blank. Like I couldn't process words, I couldn't process thoughts. quick to start getting...
Colorectal Cancer Canada says it's not clear why the disease is rising in people under 50, but this ad they're filming will push to change the screening age.
We are advocating that it be lowered to start the screening at 45 years old.
In most of the country, the recommended screening age is 50. Lowering it could come at a cost.
An investment does have to be made, and about 1 million more FIT tests will have to be done, and perhaps maybe another 500,000 colonoscopies will have to be done.
Simply poke it into the stool?
FIT tests are stool sample kits gathered by patients. They're inexpensive, but if they flag an issue, a colonoscopy is needed.
Do we have the resources and the capacity to take on additional colonoscopies?
This study, Screening Age with Cancer Incidence, Mortality and Costs, used modeling to predict the impacts of early colorectal cancer screening. It suggests screening at age 45 could lead to approximately 12,000 fewer colorectal cancer cases and about 5,200 fewer deaths over a 40-year period, concluding lowering the screening age may be justified, but evaluation of colonoscopy capacity is necessary.
Adding this additional work onto what colonoscopists are already doing is what one of the concerns is.
Still, he thinks screening younger people would be beneficial. More countries, including the UK, are considering a similar shift. However, the vast majority of colorectal cancer cases are in older adults. Even with screening available, up to 40% of them aren't using it. Christine Burak, CBC News, Toronto.
Riley's back in now, and you've been keeping an eye on those storms that are coming our way and throughout the province, and also keeping an eye on potential thunder and lightning as well. That could be an issue in some areas.
I know the pets don't like that very much.
No, they really don't.
There is the risk that we see some of that through the evening in Winnipeg. Most of it has started to fizzle out as it makes its way east and southeasterly, but do you expect this to happen again tomorrow, or we get into some thunderstorms into the afternoon? Let's start with the dock walking forecast for your Thursday. Isn't this a cutie? Look at Poppy. Thank you, Judy, for sending this picture in. You can always send your pets. I'd love to get some more of them into the inbox at talkback@cbc.ca. Poppy looks like she's ready for a spring walk out there, which might get a bit wet into the afternoon with that risk of a thunderstorm in Winnipeg. 26 degrees. Winds stay fairly light out of the southwest, but again, where we do see some of those thunderstorms, there is the potential to see some of those gusts, even up to 90, 100 kilometers an hour. So keep that in mind. I mean, in Winnipeg, at least, not worth canceling plans for, I don't think, but just know that the risk is there. So we've got this fairly big ridge in the jet stream right now, and that's really allowing some of this warm air north. Bismarck, 29 degrees this afternoon, Minneapolis at 28, but look at some of these temperatures down in the southern states, into the 40s for Las Vegas, Albuquerque at 34 degrees, and that warmth spreading eastward even into southern Ontario. A bit of rain in the greater Toronto area today, but still getting to 27 degrees through the afternoon. Comparing that to our temperatures here, fairly similar actually, 25 in Portage, 26 in Brandon this afternoon, 22s, 23s into the Parkland through the afternoon hours. So pretty comfortable, maybe a bit warm for some. But as those thunderstorms push through, do expect temperatures to kind of moderate slightly as that happens. So overnight tonight, looking at that risk of a thunderstorm persisting. As that makes its way to the eastward, that risk does drop through the overnight hours, 11s through Westman, 9 in Dauphin, 13 in Peguis overnight tonight. And temperatures remaining in the single digits for much of northern Manitoba as well. 3 in Shamattawa, 4s in both Thompson and Gillam. Mix of sun and clouds, maybe just a little bit of high-level cloud across northern Manitoba tomorrow. Only a few showers possible through Flin Flon into Lynn Lake. We're still dealing with those wildfires that are burning in the province. Into the 20s for the PA, OCN, Grand Rapids at 20 degrees tomorrow afternoon. 19 in Norway House. A bit of cloud left over in the morning. Maybe a few showers first thing in the morning for Winnipeg as this pushes eastward into northwestern Ontario. Looking at the potential for some showers. Brief in nature as we get into the afternoon. Then you see this thunderstorm activity starting to bubble up again, particularly around Swan River into the afternoon hours. And Brittany will see that risk persisting once again into the evening.
Thanks, Riley.
You're welcome.
A video of a group of young Indigenous drummers from the Squamish Nation in BC has gone viral. It shows the boys performing a song near a mountainside bear enclosure, drawing in a couple of grizzlies exactly as planned. Amelia John reports.
It's an incredible moment caught on camera. The proud little warriors performing outside the grizzly bear habitat on Grouse Mountain in North Vancouver.
I felt so blessed when they came really close to us, and then my first time seeing a grizzly bear. It felt so awesome and so exciting to sing to the bears.
For the past 6 months, these 10 and 11-year-old musicians have been practicing here at the Chief Joe Mathias Rec Center within their traditional territory of the Squamish Nation.
It's all about kind of like connecting to our culture and like singing and honoring the animals that we're singing for.
Over the weekend, video of the boys went viral after they came across Kula and Grinder. They couldn't see the bears at first. That's when they sang their grizzly song and coaxed them out.
And I thought it was kind of supernatural. I really like looking into supernatural stuff because if you keep looking, it always looks like it always shows up.
Their video has more than 1 million views and counting.
I shed a tear when they were singing up at Grouse Mountain, just because, how proud I am to see how far they've come.
They're now getting messages from people halfway around the world.
I'm happy, that to get our language and our culture out there, let people know that we're still here, that we're still speaking our language, and we know our culture and our songs, and that the Squamish Nation people are still here.
The proud little warriors have several more performances coming up and plan to keep singing to honor their language and culture. Amelia John, CBC News, West Vancouver.
June weather can be a mixed bag of heat and rain. This and other issues can sometimes make gardening a bit of a challenge. Shannalee Vidal visited the home of a master gardener to get tips on how to keep plants thriving all summer long.
I'm Lenore Linton. I've been gardening here for 63 years.
I noticed this year that plants seem to be growing faster than usual. Have you found that too?
Yeah, because number one, we had the heat so early. Some that get less sun, don't grow as quickly,
One of the simplest things that people can do to help keep their garden thriving is watering, but I understand there's a bit of a technique to it.
Well, to me, the water has to go down where the plants are, the roots on the soil, not up in the air. And if you use a sprinkler that goes up like this, it gets the leaves and everything. And the best time to water is in the early morning or the evening, so the water doesn't evaporate. But if you do it in the evening and you've wetted the leaves like that, they can get a fungus on them or something.
Tell me about why we have all this straw here.
So it keeps the moisture down under the ground, and it protects the tomatoes. And when you go underneath it, it's usually much more damper underneath there. See how wet it is.
Oh yeah, it's very moist.
Yeah, moist. This rhubarb is very red. And when you take rhubarb, you don't cut it. You have to pull it. These are hascaps. They have to have two varieties that are compatible so that they can pollinate each other. This is Cytherea, this one is called, and so with the pink one over there. They're both the same. And they're peonies that don't have to be staked. Ones I used to have, they were doubles, and when it rained, what my daughter called the peony rains came like last Sunday, they were down with their heads in the mud. You had things around them to keep them up, and these are the ones that don't have to be staked. A peony can live longer than some trees that you could plant.
Peonies don't like being transplanted.
Well, they don't, no. And if you transplant them at the wrong time of the year, that's wrong. It's better in the fall. They don't like to be planted too deeply. And if they're planted too deeply, they won't bloom either. So they're just about 2 inches is the most on top of the crown. Once they get established, they're pretty good. They stay a long time.
Even though Lenore Linton is an experienced gardener, she says she's made her share of mistakes over the years, including planting things that thrive a little too much.
I've planted a couple of invasive plants. One of them was Bishop Scoutweed, and it looked quite nice, because it was better than mud. It had flowers on it, it went to seed, and then it gradually changed to just dark green and keeps on growing like crazy. You can't move it.
Shanley Vidal, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Well, still seeing a little bit of thunderstorm activity moving across southern Manitoba. All of the severe thunderstorm warnings have been dropped, but still quite a bit of lightning out of some of these cells as they make their way south and eastward. There is a chance that we'll see some of this into Winnipeg as we get into the evening, but this is losing steam as it pushes eastward and southward through the evening hours here. Tomorrow, pretty similar day, 26 degrees. Chance that we maybe see a brief shower in the morning and then a risk of thunderstorms into the afternoon once again. 29s Friday into Saturday for the first full day of summer on Saturday. And then we have a fairly good chance of seeing some showers in the afternoon, maybe a thunderstorm into Sunday. And temperatures staying a little bit below seasonal as we start next week. 21 for Monday, 23 on the way for Tuesday. Well, if you see someone moving and grooving in the park with no music, it might be more than just someone enjoying a carefree moment to themselves.
A disco, right? A disco-style fitness class in PEI wanted to bring dancers closer to the music and their movements. So their switch from a loudspeaker to headphones is our daily lift.
We are at Victoria Park in a groove dance class, which is a community dance floor, and we're having a great time outside with the sun and the wind and the water and people around, and it is so much fun.
Tap and shame walk. Shame, shame. You can say shame on you, and then you can dance with them. Shame on you. If you can't dance too.
Before we got the silent disco, we used to have a speaker. And the great thing was when we had the speaker, it was good and we could interact, but at the same time we still interact, but we have the music more in our ears, and it makes it so that we can really focus really deep in and really get the most out of the experience. Yet you have the community, but you're very personal as well with the music. You escape life, and it's wonderful. And it's just so much fun being around so many fun people too. There's a great friendship here. We're all very close. We all come from different walks of life, and we're all great friends on the dance floor, and we can really connect one another, and we just come to have a good time and celebrate life in every way that we can. Like I said, different levels, different ways, but we all come with joy, we all come with fun, and we all come for friendship.
Woo! 3.
If you pass me in my car, you probably see the
Yeah,
same thing,
me
except
too.
you'll probably hear the music as well. But there's
Yeah.
always a little dancing going on there.
I'm the one who's also clapping my hands and snapping my fingers and
Having a good time.
having a good time.
Right?
Love it.
Enjoy
Yes.
it. It's what we got to do. Have a wonderful night. We'll see you back
ya.
here tomorrow for a dance.